Hello, everybody. All right, let's see if people are starting to trickle in real quick. Alrighty, perfect. Let me know if you guys can hear me well. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat, and that would be perfect. Hope you guys are having a good day today already so far. I know it is Friday. And for those of you who are in the US, I know you guys might be looking forward to the 3-day weekend. I know I am. I definitely need to take a little bit of a break. But I don't know. I've loved what I'm doing. What I'm doing so far. So nothing to complain about. Okay, let's wait a couple more minutes. Around like 3 more minutes. Wait for a couple more people to trickle in, and then we can proceed. All right, with the build out. All right. Okay. Couple more minutes, fellas, and then we'll get everything going. All right, let's go ahead and get started with everything. I am going to share my screen real quick and show you guys. Actually, I think I might go into the other view real quick before I do that. I think this one might be better. All right. Let's do this. Okay, so today's webinar won't be the full hour long just because I know it's not going to take us that long to get over all of this. However, I will give you guys the information that you will need, and if I will answer any questions once I'm done doing the setup for everything. Okay? So, as always, I'm going to give you guys the Google Doc that I usually give you guys, which is going to contain the call recording. Pretty much anything that you need for this webinar will be on this Google Doc. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that on there and then make sure to pin it so you guys don't lose it. So it should be in the chat down below. Just check the chat down, and in there you're going to be able to see all of the info. All right, because I know I'm always asked if the call is going to be recorded. You just need to check the pinned one. All right. Okay, perfect. I see a couple of you guys already going in. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and get this started. I am excited. So, believe it or not, I'm not going to be talking about a voice AI assistant today, which is, I know, crazy. I usually start the whole build out talking about a voice AI assistant, but in this case, it actually doesn't have that much to do with a voice AI assistant. It actually has a couple of things to do with just how you launch campaigns for the voice AI assistant. So we're going to be working for the voice AI assistant in this call itself. And I'm going to bring up a couple of things here real quick just to make sure that we have these settled. So you guys can see pretty much how we're planning to do these launches. All right. So give me 1 minute here and launch it up for you guys. I have dual monitors, so that's why you guys probably can't see what I'm doing right now. Alrighty, we have this, and duplicate that. You guys let me know if you can still see my screen here. Awesome. Okay. So, a couple of things that I want to cover with you guys, right? The first thing is how can we launch calls, right? How are we going to be able to launch calls from a CSV that you guys will have? So, you can have a voice AI call everybody. So, there are so many ways to launch calls. And I'm just going to be touching base on some of the ways that you can do it, whether it's natively, whether it's via Go High Level, whether it's via Zapier. It's all the same thing. All you guys are going to be doing essentially is calling the API on Synthflow to make the call itself. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is go over and the workflow that I created to launch calls on Synthflow natively. This is the main one that we're going to cover. I'm going to slightly talk about, not entirely cover, the ones for Go High Level as well as Zapier, because I've actually done the ones for Go High Level and Zapier before. I've never done the ones that have been native to Synthflow, right? So what I'm going to do is show you guys how you can do it for yourself within your own Synthflow accounts. All right. So let's get this going. As you guys already know, there are a couple ways, and this is going to be a little more streamlined as we go on, but there are a couple ways that you can launch a campaign. So the first thing that I do in the first step, because this workflow is specifically to make the calls happen. Okay. So just as I showed you guys in Go High Level, this is to launch calls in this first workflow here. So you might be thinking, why do we have a webhook for the first workflow to launch the calls? Well, the reason we have a webhook is because we're going to have multiple ways to start this automation. In this case, what I did is I made a webhook to trigger the calls of a specific Google Sheet to be able to start the automation itself. Okay? Now, that is the trigger. And essentially, whenever you want to start the automation, you just call this webhook and it just starts rolling in. All right? Now, what do we do from here? From here, I made a get current time format, which is essentially going to give you guys the hours. And then I made another one where it's get current date. Now, you might be thinking, why are we getting these two? What's the purpose? So the reason we're getting these two is because we want to check for business hours. We want to make sure that we don't call people throughout business hours, right? Very important. Throughout after hours. My bad. So that way, you don't catch anybody sleeping or anything like that. Okay. So I added another router here, which checks for the business hours, as you can see right here. You could set them up on there. So this number is going to be less than 17, which is going to be 5 p.m. And then this number is greater than 12, which is going to be 12 p.m. And the reason I set it up like this is because that's pretty much, you can do this 9 to 5. Like you can put a 9 here, and then you can leave this one at 17. It'll be 9 to 5. But I set it up like this just because that was the use case that I wanted at the moment. Now, I could go and bring it back to 9. That's no problem. So in here, I made a custom JavaScript code. I'm going to give you guys this custom JavaScript code in here because this is a very neat and very useful code that you guys are going to have to use for this. Now, this code is pretty much going to check, right? So we already checked for the business hours. Perfect. However, here we're checking for how long we need to delay the call for if it's outside of business hours. Now, for example, if it is, let's say, if we catch a call that we're making and it is at 2 a.m., obviously this automation is going to stop that call. And from here, it's going to pretty much route the call for within business hours. So the output of this right here, it's going to tell you if it's within business hours or outside of business hours. If it is actually outside of business hours, then it is going to give an output that can be attached to a delay, right? A wait time specifically. And that would pretty much delay the call being sent out to the person until we go back to business hours. So it's going to give an output and it's going to tell the wait time. Okay, this is how long you're going to wait in order for us to be sending out calls during business hours. And then the wait time, which is the delay here, is going to wait for that specific time and then start launching calls during business hours. That is the goal of having this JavaScript code here and the delay until. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. If it doesn't, obviously let me know. I'm here to help out, so let me know if you guys are lost with that. Okay. Now, in here, you're going to submit your Google Sheet. Okay, now the Google Sheet is pretty much going to have the essentials that you'll need, right? Whether it is a property or whatever it is, right? If it's just a phone number, lead name, like a first name, last name, anything that you want to attach to the assistant when you're calling the assistant, you're going to be able to pull up from here. So here we're just getting all of the rows, everything that you have. That's why there's such a huge number here. We're getting all the rows. But after this step, we're going to loop on the items. So this is essentially going to give you guys the ability to go through each and every single one of those rows and call them subsequently, right? Now, once you do this loop on item, this basically means, for those of you who have never used this one before, this basically means that it's going to go in a circle like this. It's going to go in a circle. How can I draw here? That'd be really cool if I could draw. Anyway, it's going to go in a circle all the way until you actually finish the entire list, right? That is the goal of the loop on items action. Now within here, right, once you loop it, you need to understand the specific rows that you're going to be looping. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen so you guys can see. Now, in here, you're going to be able to find the rows. Like, you're going to select your spreadsheet, select your main sheet, and then from here, you are going to search the column by the column phone number, right? So in here, obviously, you're going to have the value. You're going to loop on items, and you're going to have the volume B to be able to search for phone numbers. So this is going to allow you to gather a number of rows and start calling them. In this case, it's going to be 100 rows, and it's going to go one by one on those 100 rows and start calling people and calling people and calling people. Okay? Now, what's going to happen next? And I know there's a lot of routers, but bear with me here. In this next router, we're going to identify whether this contact was called before or not. If they were called before, then we don't want to call them again, right? There's no need to call them again. And you do this by making a tab, making a column within the Google Sheet that says times called. All right? So that way, in that column, whenever you make the phone call here, as you can see, we're calling the assistant here. Whenever you make the phone call, you're going to realize that we're going to update the row, the times called row, right here. I call it call try number, but you can do times called. And then I put the number 1, right? So we called them once. So in here, if they ever roll back into the automation, we're going to check if they were called once, and then we're not going to call them again, right? But keep in mind, this is just the first automation. All right, there's 2 automations to this. In the first automation, we're only going to call them once, all right? And then once we call them, we add that call try 1 number. So that way they're not called again by this workflow. All right? So this is essentially workflow number 1. I just went through the entire thing. And now let's go over workflow number 2. But I do want to let you guys know that please, you should definitely post your questions in the chat just to make sure that, I'm able to cover everything. I know you guys are learning here, but do keep in mind that you learn even better by asking questions. So I'll always be here to answer them. All right, let's go back in here. This is call number 2. So as you guys already know from the webhook, this is going to have a webhook that will be connected to your assistant. So whenever you make calls out and the assistant finishes the call itself, it's going to call this webhook to store all the data, right? That's the goal of this. You want to be able to understand what happened throughout the call, and that's the goal of this. It's going to update that contact specific row inside of the Google Sheet. All right? Very, very important that you guys know this. But that is the main goal of this workflow. Well, one of the goals. The second goal would be to go back, right, and make multiple calls, right? So first call, second call, third call, fourth call. You're going to call them multiple times, depending on how many times you want to call them. You can determine, right, which one, how many times you want to call them. Okay. So in here, right, that's what you would use the catch webhook for. Now in here, we're going to find the same row that we call. Okay. So remember, each and every single person is going to be sent here individually, which is a lot better for us. But in here, you are basically going to call this person. And once you call the person, wait, sorry, I think I got confused. You're going to call the phone number of the person, and it's going to bring it through here, and it's going to find that same phone number that the assistant called. Okay, so this is the search value, the phone number of the person. Once we find the row, the specific row actually of the person, as you can see, we're only grabbing one row here. Then we're going to update that row with all of the information that you gathered throughout the call, whether it's the call transcript, the call ID, the model ID. Everything is going to be put here. As you can see, here's everything, right? The call try number, we're not updating that yet because we already did in the last one. But as you can see, call ID, call details, which is the recording, the date and time that we called, the duration of the call, the status of the call, end call reason, property name. This is all going to be within your Google Sheet, right? You guys are going to have access to all of this. So you want to make sure that you update everything, okay? Now, once you update everything, we are going to detect whether the assistant was busy and requested a callback, or busy and didn't request a callback, or if they were just not interested in general, which is do not disturb activated. Okay? So you do this by having info extractors attached to your assistant, which I've covered multiple times before. One of the info extractors that you're going to have is going to be busy, right? Which busy is going to determine if they were busy or not, right? So it's going to be a yes/no type of info extractor. And you're just going to want to say, was the user busy throughout the call and didn't have time to talk? Then you're going to make another one that's going to say callback, right? And this is where we check for the callback request. Okay. Now this callback info extractor is going to also be a yes or no. And it's going to say, did the user request a callback? So this is going to allow you to pretty much understand if the user was busy and the callback was requested, or if they were busy and no callback was requested. You're going to do the same thing for the DND activated right here. Okay? So how do we check for them, right? Once you're in this workflow here. The way that you're going to check for them is by connecting the info extractor. So in this case, as you can see right here, it says busy. And you can go right here. You can go to body, executed actions. And then you can just look up busy right here. I don't think I connected it in this one, but you would see a busy info extractor right here. So you're just going to go ahead and connect that, right? Once you connect it, you're just going to put this in as true because they were busy, right? This is what we're checking for, if they were busy or not. In this case, we're checking if they were busy, so it would be true. And they did request a callback, so that would be also true. Okay? But if they were busy and didn't request a callback, it's going to be true for busy and false for callback requested. So for DND activated, here we're just going to make an info extractor that's obviously identifying whether they were not interested or didn't want to be contacted again. So here we're just checking if it's true or false. In this case, we're checking if it's true, right? The person did not want to be called again. We're just going to mark it like that. Now, once you have all this stuff, right, what you're going to do is you're just going to update your Google Sheet here. All right, there we go. You're just going to update your Google Sheet as busy, no callback requested. All right. I think I misjudged this one. I think this one should be busy, callback requested. Give me one sec. Easy fix. There we go. Busy, callback requested. And then this one over here is going to be, it's going to update the actual sheet with busy, no callback requested. I think I flipped those around. All right. So that's the reason for these two. Now in here, this one's going to do the same thing and update the row with not interested. All right. That's the goal for this. Now, what happens after this? This is when it gets it looks a little tricky, but in reality, it's super easy. The first thing we're going to check for is whether the user answered the call or not, right? So if they answer the call, that means that the call here, if I go to body, hold on. Anyway, there should be a webhook there or an action there that says status. Okay, which you can see right here. You're just going to copy the same one. If you want to write it down whenever you do create the webhook, you're going to look for status, which is right there, as you can see. And then in here, we're going to check the status of the call, which an answered call means a completed call, right? They answered the phone, and they might have had a conversation or might not have had a conversation with the person. In this case, I don't do anything with either. I just want to identify whether they answered the call or not because we don't want to call them back. That's pretty much it. If they answered the call and they had a negative type of conversation, then we don't want to call them back. That's the reason for that. All right. Now in here, we're checking if they reached voicemail. So that would be either hang up on voicemail, no answer, busy, and failed. All right, so this is when we want to call this person back, whether if any of these happened. Okay. I believe I checked for no, I don't check for any of those. Awesome, because it's going to be one of these anyway. All right, so before I answer any questions, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and then I'll go ahead and answer all of them. Okay. Now here, what we're going to do is we're going to route the calls. We're going to put another router here. And what is this going to do? This is just going to follow up with the person depending on what your time skips are. In this case, what we're going to do here is we're going to call them once, right, in the initial first workflow. And then 4 hours after that call, we're going to call them again, right? So we wait, we delay the workflow or the contact that's running through this workflow for 4 hours. And then we're going to go ahead and make another call, right, connected to that assistant. Once we make that other call, Then we're going to update, and you guessed it, the call try again to number 2 because we called them for the second time. All right. It's very important that you guys know this because this is literally what's going to identify whether they run through the first call, the second call, the third call, or the fourth call. As you can see, the numbers change depending on which one you're in, right? So now when it runs again, let's say it went through this whole thing again, this person that ran through the contact would go through the second call now because it matches this. All right. Awesome. So in here, once they run the second time, it's going to delay them for 20 hours and then do the same thing, update the contact as a call try number 3, and then it's going to run them through the third call, right? Which is going to delay it for another 4 hours. Or in this case, I could just make it 48 hours to make it a little bit healthier and less consistent for it. And then it's going to make the call again, and it's going to update the contact with a number 4. And then it's going to go ahead and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to wait 20 hours, and then it's going to make the call, and it's going to update them to, I'll show you guys right now, number 5. So that way, whenever they run again through here, there is no number 5. So what does that mean? We're going to stop calling them. That is basically what that means. There is no point of calling them anymore. We're going to stop calling them all in all. Okay? Unless you want to just go to the Google Sheet and reset the call try number to 0. Now I try to explain this as easily as possible. So hopefully, you guys were able to understand this. This call will be recorded. As I mentioned in the beginning of the call will be recorded, and it's going to be posted within here. You're going to see the meeting recording right here. Or it's going to be on our YouTube. Okay. So you're going to have everything on there. You're going to have our YouTube. You're going to have the meeting recording inside of our community. You're going to have everything. Okay. Okay. Now, the last thing that I wanted to share with you guys is if you guys are looking for additional help, we have our community, right, which is the Synthflow community. And then you guys have my personal community, which is this one right here. Okay. Now, how do you join this personal community? You just click on this button right here, AI agency right here. I call the AI agency vault. You join, you fill this out, and then this will literally take you over to this page and you can sign up. There's 450 people here. I help every single person out that comes in. And as you can see, I have a bunch of notifications that I go through on the daily. So join up and I will help you out. And not only that, if you guys are using Go High Level, I have a bunch of snapshots that you guys can use here, which are all based on voice AI, literally what I do and love all day, every day, pretty much for 14 hours a day. And I also have some courses that I created for you guys regarding Synthflow. So you guys will basically have everything that you need to get started. All these Synthflow courses, everything is on here. I even have my own private academy that you guys can go in and check out. There's everything on here that you need. Plus, the community is awesome. Everybody in there is great. And you'll get to meet a lot of people that are pretty like-minded. Same as the Synthflow community. All right. If you guys need help with any implementation, I do have an implementation team that you guys can get help from. So all these things are covered. Synthflow makes sure to cover them. And obviously, as you guys know, we're looking to even increase our support even further, which we are already doing and working on. And yeah, I'm very excited. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in to the chat below if you guys ever want to join up with there. But let's go ahead and answer some questions. Okay. All right. So, can the first automation be launched manually? For sure. Yeah. The reason I made a catch webhook is because it can be launched manually. So whenever you call that webhook, whether you're using, I don't know, like an API call on Go High Level or Zapier, you can just run the automation or just call the webhook itself, and it's going to launch the calls. That's why I made a catch webhook on there, because that's basically what it's supposed to do. All right, you're not trying to send in any information. You're just basically launching the call with the catch webhook. That's like the start button, quote unquote. What data does the API pass to the webhook after the call? So after the call, the data that is passed is going to be everything that happened throughout the call. Like, for example, the call ID, the call transcript, call recording, the model ID, the duration of the call, the info extractors. So anything that you set onto the info extractors will be shown on there. Pretty much everything you need to be able to have all the info on your end. All right. So hopefully that answers your question, Harris. Can the script of the call be inserted to see what happened inside the call? For sure, yeah. Like, we give you the script, the transcript of the call itself, and in that transcript, you are basically capable of, how do you want to call it? Yeah, you're basically capable of identifying what happened throughout the call, right? And you can plug that into your Google Sheet, so that way it makes it a lot easier. Okay, so that seems to be the last question. This last one is just for reference. So I did explain where you can find the recording cast. So yeah, that should be good. Are we able to have the chatbot book appointments using an online appointment tool using the caller's info? Yes, so it would be a voice AI, but the voice AI can connect to any calendar that you want it to connect to, whether it's via API or natively within Synthflow using Go High Level or cal.com. But you will be able to book in calls with the voice AI. Yes, Iman. Perfect. I'll leave it open to any other questions that you guys may have. I did cover most of it already, so you guys can understand how to use the workflows to launch calls. Let me know if you guys have any other questions on that. And I'll cover a little bit more, as I mentioned, on Zapier as well as Go High Level. I won't show you guys visuals, but I'll tell you guys how it works and how you can do it. There's not much to say on them because it's basically the same exact thing that you're going to be doing, except on Go High Level, it's going to be a little bit easier. Yes, Shide, this is going to be recorded. It is in the pinned message that I have in the Google Doc. You're going to see meeting recording. Okay. All right, perfect. So I will go ahead and tell you guys a little bit about how you would do this on Go High Level in comparison to Zapier and Synthflow. So the way that you would launch calls within Go High Level is by importing a CSV directly into their CRM, because they have a CRM. And then from there, you are going to be able to not reference a Google Sheet, just the CRM internally. And you're going to be able to make thousands and thousands of calls by launching them the same exact way and format that I have on Synthflow. I have multiple videos that you guys can watch to be able to get this to happen, as well as many webinars that I've created, so that way you guys are able to learn from them in regards to the calls being launched inside of Go High Level. And I believe I also have some for Zapier. So lastly, for Zapier, that is going to follow more of a structure that is similar to Synthflow, right? So Zapier doesn't rely on its own CRM. It relies on mainly getting the contact information from a Google Sheet, just like Synthflow does for now. Okay. Eventually, we're going to come up with batch calls very soon. And we're going to be able to just plug in a batch call, CSV onto the batch call inside of Synthflow, and we're just going to be able to launch calls through that. All right, so that's like a brief explanation for both of them. Now, this is one of the last questions. Where can we get your templates? Yeah, I'll show you right now. So the templates whether you're referring to, if you're referring to voice AI templates, what you're going to do is type in marketplace.synthflow.ai. And in here, these are all of the templates that I've created for you guys. As you guys can see, you guys can plug them into your own Synthflow account. Believe it or not, it's just going to be in your own Synthflow account. I've created each and every single one of these personally myself, except for some actually, and that were created by Alex. But you guys are going to be able to have all of the information you need in here. Okay. Now, that's what it is for the snapshots on that end. If you're looking for snapshots on Go High Level that match Synthflow, then what you're going to want to do is join the community. And in here in the classroom, you're going to see one for apartment complexes, one for lead nurturing AI, e-commerce upseller, e-com customer support AI build, abandoned cart recovery, and then lead reactivation. Okay. Guys, I don't even know how many videos I have recorded. Harris, I don't know how many videos I've recorded. I believe I have almost everything covered so far already. In regards to voice AI in general. Maybe there's some things that I haven't covered, and I'd love for you guys to let me know what I haven't covered yet. One of the things that I haven't covered yet is warm transferring, which is going to be next Friday's call. So make sure to be there. Don't miss it. And yeah, that's it's a lot of hustle, like you mentioned, but it takes a lot of time to do. All right. Stop sharing my screen, and then you guys let me know if there are any other questions that you guys may need from me, may need answered, and I will gladly answer them right now. I will give you guys another 3 minutes, and then we'll call it a day, and you guys can enjoy your Friday. I can enjoy my Friday, and I won't need to record any more videos on top of the work I do. All right. Okay, I'll leave it open to questions real quick. What editing tools do I use for the videos for YouTube, Harris? If it is for YouTube, then I know the video editor that I have right now is really, really good. I love them. Look, I'll show you. So this is my YouTube right here, where, by the way, I post everything here for Synthflow. The videos that are getting edited here, these are not by me. I don't know what my editor uses, but like this is cool with the screen capture side by side with the face. Oh, you're talking about this, right? What we're using right now. This is Restream to be able to stream everything. Harris. But yeah, in here, if you guys do want the link to my YouTube, I'll put it in the chat so that way you guys are also able to go over any anything that you need. Pretty much, I have almost everything here regarding voice AI. But yeah, you guys let me know, and I'll and join up in there. In regards to editing tools for YouTube, I have no clue. That's just mainly the video editor itself. Yep, of course, Harris. Thank you for asking. Okay, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining up today. I took 30 of your guys' time today. So I appreciate each and every single one of you guys joining up and listening to me ramble for 40 minutes so far. I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one, which would be next Friday. All right. Peace out, fellas. Have a good weekend.